Hello and welcome to another episode of the Identity Navigator. My name is Rohit. Today, we'll be discussing a core problem for any identity and access management program, which impacts both internal workforce and also customers. This could also have a direct effect on companies' bottom line and could affect a few key performance metrics or KPIs. Today, we'll carry out an in depth exploration of fractured identity. Now, fractured identity occurs when a single user is unintentionally associated with multiple distinct accounts across different systems or within the same system. This fragmentation can arise in several scenarios, such as customer service interactions, where new user identities are created without linking them to existing ones, or when identity data across different systems is inconsistent or cannot be reconciled. A fractured identity in a sales workflow is created when a prospect is entered into the system multiple times due to incomplete or inconsistent information, such as different email addresses or missing unique identifiers like a phone number or SSN for US based users. This often occurs when sales representatives create new records for existing prospects without verifying if they already exist in the system, leading to multiple disjointed accounts for the same individual. A fractured identity in customer support is created when a support agent inadvertently creates a new account for a customer instead of locating and updating their existing profile, often due to incomplete or inconsistent customer information. This can happen when the system lacks proper search and matching capabilities, bad processes, but this results in multiple records for the same customer across different support interactions. In terms of internal workforce, a fractured identity for a contractor is created when they are onboarded multiple times under different accounts due to variations in identifying information, such as different email addresses or project specific details, without linking to a single consistent identity. This often occurs when contractor engagements are managed separately by different departments or systems, leading to multiple fragmented profiles for the same individual. Now, for each of these identity types, we'll face some common and some type specific impacts. So some of the common impacts are user experience. So user might face confusion when they have multiple accounts with different login credentials. It may also prevent them from accessing their complete transaction history or personalized services. Another common impact could be operational efficiency, where organizations may struggle with redundant customers' records, leading to inefficient processes and increased operational cost. Another common impact could be security risk, where multiple accounts can lead to weak points in security, and each account is a potential attack surface, increasing the risk of unauthorized access. Another one could be compliance issue for industries regulated by strict data protection laws. Fractured identities, especially in finance or healthcare, can lead to non-compliance with data handling and privacy regulations. And last but not the least is data integrity. Inconsistent data across accounts can compromise data integrity, leading to incorrect analytics and business decisions. Now let's look into some specific impacts and let's look at, say, for sales team. For sales team, some of the impacts could be prospect tracking and management, where sales team rely on accurate and comprehensive data to track prospects through the sales funnel. Fractured identity can result in multiple records for the same prospect, leading to confusion, duplicate outreach effort, or missed follow up. This could also be true when you are trying to hire for a very specialized roles. Sales efficiency. Duplicate records can cause inefficiencies as sales representatives may waste time engaging with the same prospect under different records. It also hampers personalization and continuity in the sales process. Relationship building. Fractured identities can disrupt the relationship building process. If sales reps are unaware of a prospect's previous interactions or preferences because they are stored under different records, it can lead to a disjointed experience that undermines trust and reduces the likelihood of conversion. And then again, I'll come back to data integrity because this is such an important point. And especially for sales analytics and forecasting, fractured identity can skew matrix, leading to inaccurate reports on lead conversion rate, pipeline health, and sales performances. Let's look at some impact for customer support. Obviously, service continuity. Customer support team needs a comprehensive view of the customer's identity to provide effective assistance. Fractured identity can result in a fragmented service record, leading to repetitive or inefficient support interactions. Customer satisfaction. When customers have to repeatedly provide the same information or experience delays due to duplicate accounts, it can lead to frustrations and decreased satisfaction. If you did hear, the background noise was a message that I've just got from Bed Bath and Beyond, where they are selling two candles for $10, just in case you are in the market for it. Moving on though, for customer support, resolution efficiency. Resolving customer issues quickly relies on having access to complete and accurate data. Fractured identities can impede the support team ability to access relevant information, slowing down issue resolution. Now, if in always speaking in terms of security and compliance, ensuring that interactions are secure and compliant with data protection laws is critical. Fractured identities can increase the risk of unauthorized access to sensitive data and complicate compliance effort. Now, both sales and customer support are affected by fractured identity. Customer support may face more immediate operational challenges as they deal directly with existing customers who accept quick and efficient services. Sales, on the other hand, may experience more strategic and long term impacts related to relationship management and data accuracy. Now, this leads to a question of whether this problem exists for employees and contractors as well. Identities that we have more control over and normally better onboarding processes. Let's look at contractors first, where the issues can be more widespread. Fractured identity for a contractor can occur in several ways, often due to the nature of temporary or project based engagements and the complexities of managing multiple systems and access points. Here is how a fractured identity can arise for a contractor. Multiple system accounts. Contractors often need access to various systems and applications to perform their duties. If these systems are not integrated, or if identity management processes are inconsistent, a contractor may end up with separate accounts for each system. This fragmentation can occur because different teams or departments manage access separately. This is where a consistent IGA process will also come into picture, and each systems require its own authentication, leading to creation of multiple identities for the same contractor. Think about SSO here. And this is also equally true for employees, by the way, the problem of multiple system accounts. Repeated engagement. A contractor might work on multiple projects at different times for the same organization. If their previous identity is not reused or reactivated for a new engagement, new identities may be created each time they return. This also tracks back into the problem of how are you dealing with terminated access? Are you disabling those accounts? Are you deleting those accounts? What are the controls over it? But in this case, if you are creating new identities and the deletion process is not very well defined, or there are multiple system accounts, this can lead to, and this will lead to multiple records representing the same individual in different systems or across different projects. Another problem for contractors would be lack of unique identifiers. Because when contractors are onboarded without a unique identifier, like a consistent email address or employee ID, it becomes challenging to link their various accounts. Now, this is not internal email address. For example, if they use different email addresses for different projects or departments, the system might treat each as a separate identity. So, what is your unique identifier? Let's say for a US based employee or a contractor, it is an SSN. What about a contractor based outside of US, right? So, you have to think in terms of consistency of unique identifiers, and these are external identifiers. Manual processes, manual account creation and provisioning processes can introduce human errors such as misspelling names or inputting different details for the same contractor. This can result in multiple identities being created unintentionally. This is also I've seen in some cases where there are special characters in name, and then people are not mistyping but are using their judgment to how to resolve those special characters, and manual processes like this can actually introduce more human errors even when there is no unintentionally error is introduced. Siloed system. Organizations with siloed system may not have a unified view of contractor identities. Each department or system might manage contractors' access independently, leading to fragmented identities across the organization. In some cases, contractors may be employed through different contracting agencies or entities for different projects within the same organization. If the organization does not have a centralized system to track these engagement, multiple identities can be created for the same individual. Now this all sounds so intuitive, something that we should have control over or something that we should have already solved for many years before. But this problem is very evident in large organizations that I have seen. There are still departments that work in silos, right? There are risks at the seams where the departments interacts with each other. There are still legacy processes, and sometimes there are efforts to bring in something new in the system, but these legacy problems aren't being solved because there has to be a holistic approach to it, and that level of collaboration does not exist. And you would be surprised to see in how many large organizations I have seen this to be a valid case consistently. Now, if you have seen such a case or if you do not agree, please let me know and I would love to have a conversation. Another thing that stands out for contractors is inconsistent data management, like varying format for names, that is example using full names in one system and initials in another, can prevent the organization from recognizing that multiple records refer to the same contractor. For employees, identity fragmentation might be less frequent but can still occur during role changes, system migrations, or decentralized account management for individual applications. For contractors, the cyclical nature of their engagement increases the risk of fractured identities due to repeated onboarding and offboarding. Now, let's discuss if fractured identity is a technology problem, process problem, or organization structure problem. Now, no marks for guessing here. Fractured identity is a multi-dimensional issue that involves technology, processes, and organizational structure. Each aspect contributes to the problem in different ways, and effectively addressing it requires a holistic approach. Now let's double click on how each dimension plays a role. Let's look into technology first. Fragmented system. When organizations use multiple disconnected systems for identity management, example separate systems for HR, IT, and project management, identities can become fragmented because there is no single source of truth. In terms of customers, this is far too common. Lack of integrations. Without proper integrations within systems, example HR systems and your CRMs or your ERPs, data about users and employees and customers, but most importantly customers, is often duplicated or mismatched. Legacy system. Older system may lack modern identity management features, making it harder to consolidate identities across platforms. And another one that I would really like to touch upon here is the inefficient or insufficient IAM solutions. If the identity and access management solution in place doesn't support centralized identity management or lack features like single sign on or automated account provisioning, fractured identities can proliferate. Let's look into process problems. Obviously, inconsistent onboarding and offboarding, variability in how employees, contractors, or customers, prospects, or any other type of personas that you have are onboarded across departments or projects can lead to the creation of multiple identities for the same person. Do you have different type of personas? A comprehensive list, not a 60% accurate or an 80% accurate, but a 100% accurate list of what are those different personas and how are they interacting with your digital ecosystem? What are your different channels, right? And how is each persona interacting with each channel? So you could have a network channel, you could have a voice channel, you could have a mobile channel, you could have a web application channel. You would have to identify it in terms of what are the different type of personas and what are the different type of channels and how each persona is interacting with each channel, and that will give you an holistic picture of what is your onboarding and offboarding process, and from there you can carry out process rationalization or identify inconsistency between your onboarding and offboarding process. Another one is manual account creation. When identity management relies heavily on manual processes, human errors, example typos or mismatched records or judgment on how to remediate special characters can lead to fractured identities. And then inadequate identity governance. A lack of consistent policies and procedures for identity lifecycle management can result in fragmented identities, specifically or especially if there is no regular review or audit process in place. Now, this audit could be fragmented as well, and that won't resolve the problem. Let's look into another tier for this, the organization structure problem, right? So obviously no surprises, we in especially in the large organizations we have siloed departments where different departments may manage their own identities and access controls independently, leading to a lack of coordination and oversight. This siloed approach can result in fractured identities when user interacts with multiple departments. Decentralized IT management. In organizations with decentralized IT management, various teams may adopt different systems and processes for identity management, further contributing to identity fragmentation. Lack of clear ownership. Without clear ownership of identity management responsibilities, example whether it is IT, HR, or security, there can be confusion and inconsistency in how identities are handled across the organization. And inconsistent communication. Poor communication between departments can lead to fragmented identity data as updates or changes in user information may not be shared effectively across the organization. So, fractured identity is a combination of technology, process, and organizational problem. And addressing it requires technology integration, implementing centralized and integrated identity management solution, standardization of processes where you are standardizing and automating identity related process, and organizational alignment where the different departments are aligned and creating clear ownership and governance of identity management. And this will all start with what I mentioned before, Identifying your personas, identifying your channels, and then creating your process flows for each type of personas, how they are interacting with different channels, and how are they going through a JML process there. Now let's look at some of the remediation strategies that would hugely depend on identity type or personas that you are solving for. Obviously, centralized IAM system. Implementing a centralized identity and access management system is the foundational element, ensuring that each person has a single unified identity across the organization. Implementing a centralized identity and access management system can help consolidate user identities and ensures a single source of truth for user information. For another remediation strategy, we could use data matching and reconciliation. Now use data matching tools to reconcile existing accounts and merge duplicate identities, ensuring that each identity has a unified identity within the organization. Regular audits and reconciliation. Conduct regular audits to identify and merge duplicate identities and use automated tools to reconcile accounts across different systems based on key attributes. Implement identity governance policies to manage the life cycle of identities, including onboarding, role changes, and offboarding. This ensures that identities remain consistent and accurate throughout their life cycle. There is no substitute for training and awareness. Right. Now, the next point could be integration of customer service systems. Ensure customer service systems are integrated with the central IAM system to prevent the creation of duplicate accounts. Implementing strong authentication and federation and using federated identity management and single sign on to reduce the need of multiple accounts. And strong authentication mechanisms can also help in identifying and linking user accounts accurately. Monitoring and alerts uh, detect an alert on how anomalous account creation or any patterns that can indicate fractured identities. And then another one that I could touch on is the policy and governance, where you have to develop and enforce policies around user account management, establishing governance practices to ensure ongoing oversight and continuous improvement. Now, it could be a bit tricky for sales professionals, right? So we can use more advanced techniques. Now I'm taking an example of sales professional, but for you, think in terms of which is your tricky personas, right? Employees, I would imagine, is not a tricky persona. Depending on your contractors practices or the hiring practices, they could be tricky, but I've sometimes or mostly seen uh, a separate HR database for them, like a workday for contractors or something like that. So it is mostly not tricky, but could be tricky in some organizations. Sales, CRM, and ERP systems without a golden record could always be tricky for the prospects. But think in terms of the personas that you have, and if you would like to leverage some of the advanced techniques that we discuss in this section here. Right. So for these tricky or advanced use cases, I would suggest to use a combination of attributes. So instead of relying on a single unique identifier, use a combination of less intrusive attributes to identify prospects. They could be like a combination of name and phone numbers and date of births and addresses. Like, say, for example, a partial or a full address information can be used to differentiate between individuals with the same name, right? A phone number ANI matching can often serve as a unique or a near unique identifier, right? A date of birth combined with other attributes can help narrow down potential duplicates, right? Fuzzy matching algorithms. So implement fuzzy matching algorithms to identify records that are similar but not identical. And these algorithms can account for typos, variation in name spellings, or partial matches in other attributes. Another one is progressive profiling. Use progressive profiling to gradually gather more information about the prospect as they engage with the system. Start with minimal information and request additional details only when necessary or as trust is built. This is very specific for a prospect type of identity where you are trying to sell somebody. You wouldn't like to ask an ssn right off the gate if you want to sell them something, right? So that is where progressive profiling is coming into the picture. Scoring and confidence levels. Implement a scoring system to assess the likelihood that a new prospect is a duplicate based upon the information provided. If the confidence level that the prospect is a duplicate is high, the system can prompt an agent to review the record or ask the prospect for additional information. User driven confirmation. Before creating a new record, present the prospect with potential matches and ask them to confirm whether any of the existing records are theirs. This can be done in a user friendly way that doesn't feel intrusive. I have personally never been a fan of this, right? I really wanted to highlight this because this is an actual practice that some of the call centers carry out. So I wanted you to be aware of it. So don't bank on it 100% of the times, uh, because there has to be a lot of training and coaching that gets involved in driving user driven confirmation. Because remember, we are not just trying to get the good people in, we are also trying to keep the bad people out, right? And you would have to find that balance. Integration with external databases like credit bureaus or other identity verification methods, right? Think identity proofing to cross check information and identify potential duplicates without requiring too much information upfront. I mentioned something like an ANI or the mobile matching for ANI, right? Implement a customer data platform that aggregates data from various sources and user identity resolution techniques to create a unified profile, which is sometimes called as a golden record. This system can help in identifying duplicates by analyzing data across multiple touchpoints. Training for sales team. Train the sales team to recognize potential duplicates and understand the importance of accurate data entry. They can play a critical role in preventing duplicate entries by verifying information during their interaction. Data quality and cleansing tools. So, you obviously use data quality and cleansing tools that can regularly scan and deduplicate records. These tools can help maintain a clean and accurate database by merging duplicates based upon sophisticated matching criteria. Think of AI here, right? And then incentivize accuracy. Consider implementing incentives for the sales team to accurately identify and merge duplicate records. This could be tied to performance metrics or other recognition programs. So, by employing these strategies, you can effectively reduce the likelihood of creating duplicate identities while ensuring a smooth and user friendly onboarding process for prospects. Balancing the need for sufficient data with the user experience is key to maintaining both data integrity and customer satisfaction. This is a problem where artificial intelligence makes a great business case to be used. Those matching algorithms. AI is very, very good at it. However, with all the AI, technology, processes, and controls in place, there could still be fractured identities, and for those cases, create tooling that allows a user to link disparate accounts. If you have circumstances ident- where fractured accounts, identities might be common, creating self-service tooling or merging accounts will save time and minimize frustration for both your agents, customers, and IAM admins. However, do not make credentials immutable. Users will always have justifiable causes to want to update their emails or phone numbers or even usernames, right? So provide them with the flexibility. Don't pass the baton in terms of we can't solve it, so we will make it more strict for you, right? There are ways in which we can solve it by just being more intentional about it. While I was doing the research for this, another thing that stood out was we're only thinking about human identities here, right? But what about multiple service accounts? Are those shared accounts? Who are they shared with? Or is it a one-to-one mapping? And can that be considered a fractured identities? And that's take us a little bit into the ITDR or the ISPM or the CSPM use cases, right? In which there are multiple new and innovative tools being introduced out there today. But for fractured identities, you can also extend this use case for making that connection between a user and a service account. It could be a one to one association, it could be a one to many association, or it could be a many to many association. And most of the points that we discussed will still stay true for that. Thank you for listening. You can reach out to me via LinkedIn or send me an email at theidentitynavigator@gmail.com. Both of this information I will put in the show notes. Until next time, this is Rohit, your identity navigator.